The last week of Lent, the final preparation for the Great Holy Week. The focus is on losing and gaining. Like all the previous Lenten weeks, Jesus takes the lead, accompanying us in our spiritual reflections and Lenten observances. The Gospel mentioned 3 times Jesus' death on the cross is the moment of glory for God and also for all of humanity. How can someone who suffers and puts to death unjustly, discriminately be seen as glorification? How can the agony of death be seen as gaining? Life begins in a state of loss. In the act of birth, we are pushed out from our mother's womb, thus detaching us from our mother. We cry, why not? The sudden separation is frightening. Even though we are subsequently reunited with our mother, we now inhabit a space that is different from hers. To gain a place in the new world, we first have to lose our place in the old one. The act of birth is inseparable from the pain of letting go. That is our first education. When we think of loss, we usually have in mind the loss of a loved one in death. But the experience of loss is far more outreaching than just the loss of a loved one. The times when we have to leave or being left, letting go and moving on. Throughout our lives, it is common to face a multitude of losses, people and relationships and attachments which we have to give up if we are to continue to live meaningfully. Our gradual development is marked by renunciation, for it is only through losses that we learn to change and adapt and obtain new gains. As we grow older, we have to let go of our youthful good health, our perfect vision, our waistlines, our unreal expectations of others. The time comes when we have to let go of life itself, and that final act can be as painful as the act of birth. But in this litany of losses, there can be new growth and new life. As Jesus shares with us today, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone, but if it dies, it bears much fruit. This last week of Lent calls forth our renunciation of unreal expectations of life, our worldly attachments, and learn from Jesus the power of the Holy Cross, the way that leads us from sin to grace, from despair and loss to new life and hope. In our own litany of losses, we are able to see newness of life, goodness, and hope. This prepares us for the Holy Week. The central theme of the Holy Week is about dying and rising, what Jesus is saying about losing and gaining in today's parable. Palm Sunday sets the tone for the series of losses and gains in the Holy Week. Holy Thursday, Jesus washes the disciples' feet, losing oneself in humble service and gaining a community, a church, that will be in service to the world. The institution of the Eucharist, Jesus detaching divinity and humanity to attach himself in the humble bread as his sacramental presence, losing himself and gaining for us. Good Friday, his punishment by way of crucifixion, losing himself and gaining for us our own punishment on Judgment Day. Easter, his resurrection on that Easter morning where he rises from the dead, losing and gaining for us our eternal life and renewal of faith and life with him this Easter.